Good afternoon, everybody. What a beautiful day it is. I'm Dune Gibbs, the Deputy Director of the laboratory responsible for science and technology. Today I'm filling in for Sam Aronson, who is in Washington, D.C., meeting with all of the other DOE lab directors with Secretary Chu in a meeting that was scheduled long ago. I'd like to start off by thanking everyone for being here today. It's a great pleasure and honor to see everyone. I'd especially like to acknowledge our special guests today who will be coming up after me. They are Mike Holland, the site manager for DOE at Brookhaven Lab, and also Mike Pena, the manager of the Laboratory Protection Division, who is also a retired lieutenant from the New York City Fire Department. I'm sure that all of us here remember where we were when we first heard the news of the World Trade Center, as well as the tragedies in Pennsylvania and at the Pentagon. What began as an ordinary day turned into a life-changing event that would touch all of us in a really personal way. If you were anywhere in this country on that day, you became a New Yorker. I happen not to be a native New Yorker, but on that day I converted and have been a New Yorker ever since. As we approach this somber anniversary, Brookhaven joins with people all over the world who are also remembering those who lost their lives and the people they left behind. On an occasion like this, it's also worth remembering the folks who are currently fighting against terrorism all around the world on our behalf, and who have served their country in various capacities through its history. One of the questions we typically ask is where we were on days like today, acknowledging a traumatic event. Another kind of question that one could ask is who we were on that day. And I'd like to answer that on behalf of the laboratory. Just as we are today, then, on September 11th, Brookhaven was a place that was a very giving and caring community. In the days that followed the September 11th event, we contributed our very best to the recovery efforts in an official capacity, but also as caring neighbors and concerned citizens in a whole number of different ways. The lab's radiological protection or radiological assistance program provided teams to the Ground Zero effort, recovery effort, where they assisted in determining if there were any radioactive or material present. The two teams worked complementary 12-hour shifts for many days on end. The plant engineering division brought a 10-ton, 500-kilowatt portable generator to Ground Zero, and 5 members of our fire rescue group, Charles LaSalla, John Foley, Frank Palmieri, William Peterson, and Ala Licata, joined other firefighters and the first responders in the recovery effort. Many of you, I know, also did many other things which we won't acknowledge here today. As a community, the lab staff and Brookhaven Science Associates contributed nearly $120,000 to a special fund established by the United Way and the New York Community Trust on behalf of victims of the attack. And at our blood drive on September 13th, we donated a record 403 units of blood. Ten years ago, Lab Director Jack Marburger characterized the lab's mission, how the lab's mission would likely change in response to the attacks. He said, "The attacks will have many consequences. The course of our lives will change, the way we do business will change, and so will the directions of our work." He also said, "Many urgent tasks need to be accomplished. Our laboratory can help with these, and I have no doubt our talents will be enlisted in their support." Jack was right. Brookhaven Lab and its people accepted many important new challenges on behalf of our nation. A couple of them, for example, we're now devising new ways to detect and prevent future terrorist attacks, and we have a very significant program also in exploring new ways to gain energy independence. As we approach the 10th anniversary, our new memorial honors all of the civilians and first responders who died that day, and all of the people, including many folks from Brookhaven, who helped in the rescue and recovery efforts at the World Trade Center. This memorial started in 2009 with the efforts of our BNL firefighters and Fire Chief Charles LaSalla, they reached out to the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, which owns the land where the towers once stood and which stewards the materials that were salvaged from the site. We then established a committee, a 9/11 committee, to determine how to display the steel in a way that would be meaningful for the lab community and would also encourage us to always remember 9/11. The team selected this location outside the entrance to Berkner. It's one of the most visible and visited locations on our site. Our own BNL's own architect, Ana Stojanovic, from the Modernization Project Office, designed the memorial. The centerpiece, which we'll unveil momentarily, is the section of steel beam sitting on top of a monument surrounded by large marble slabs. These were accessed from the Collider Accelerator Department and are another example from an experiment and are another example of how staff from across the lab have come together to create this special monument for the whole Brookhaven community. I'd like now to welcome Mike Holland from the site office to say a few words.
Thank you, Doon, and good afternoon, everyone. I would like to add my thanks to everyone in the laboratory community who has worked so hard to make this memorial a reality and to have this event today. I think we had the best break in the weather that we've had in quite some time, so we're very fortunate today. We all lead very busy lives, and I think often we can't even remember what we did last week, sometimes not even yesterday. But all of us remember where we were and what we were doing on September 11th, 2001, when the World Trade Center and the Pentagon was attacked and United Flight 93, loaded with innocent passengers, crashed in a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. We've come together today to honor the memory of those who lost their lives in the September 11th attacks, and to thank those in the military, law enforcement, emergency response, intelligence, and homeland security communities for their contributions to keeping us safe since that Tuesday morning a decade ago. Some of you here today responded to the World Trade Center, and your dedication and sacrifice will never be forgotten. Some of you may have suffered the loss of a loved one, or a close friend, or a neighbor. All of us lost our sense of well-being and security that day. Much has changed since September 11th, 2001. Another major attack to the United States has been prevented by the combined efforts of local, state, and federal agencies and the vigilance of ordinary citizens. The Department of Energy and its national laboratories have focused their research capabilities on scientific and technological applications to better protect and defend our country and its citizens. Brookhaven National Laboratory is part of that effort, and just as the BNL community responded 10 years ago, Brookhaven continues today to respond to the nation's protection needs. Your dedication to this vital mission is recognized and greatly appreciated, not only by the Department of Energy, but by the American people as well. Much has changed since September 11th, 2001. But what hasn't changed is who we are and what we believe in. What hasn't changed is our response to the threat of terrorism here in our country and around the world, which has been relentless. The mark of our dedication to protecting our way of life is our resilience. We never have, and we never will, be overcome by the challenge of protecting our way of life. Today, as we remember the citizens of over 90 countries who perished in the 9/11 attacks, we honor all victims of terrorism in every nation around the world. We also honor the determination and dedication of individuals and communities around the world who are standing up to terrorism. This memorial here at Brookhaven National Laboratory will serve to always remind all of us that freedom is not free. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. I'd now like to introduce Mike Pena, the manager of the Laboratory Protection Division and a retired firefighter from the city.
Mr. Gibbs, Mr. Holland, Mr. Beban, Mr. Bates, and all invited guests. I am very much honored to be here today representing them and the New York City Fire Department. The World Trade Center disaster was the greatest rescue effort on record, and many lives were saved that day. Thousands of people were evacuated from the towers prior to the collapse, and more than 20 victims were rescued from the rubble. Unfortunately, 2,753 persons lost their lives. 411 of those were first responders, and 343 were from the Fire Department of the City of New York. Many of us lost friends, neighbors, relatives, and loved ones. As we responded past the crowds evacuating downtown, many people cheered us on and shouted out words of encouragement. Seeing the people of New York evacuating and the smoke coming from the Trade Center gave us purpose as well as pause. For the days, weeks, and months later, the people of New York provided encouragement for us to carry on and continue searching for those still lost. 10 years later, we are incredibly grateful that there are people like you at B&L who continue to remember and pay tribute to those victims and the heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice. To every person who took the time to enter a firehouse or a police station, to leave a word of thanks and appreciation, flowers, or a condolence card in the days and weeks that followed. To all the volunteers and thousands who respectfully lined the many funeral routes to lend their support and sympathy as we laid our friends and co-workers to rest. The dedication of this monument today, much like any memorial erected, is a deserved tribute reflective of many things. It is a respectful and loving remembrance of the tragic loss of innocent life. It is a testament to the incredible honor, bravery, and sacrifice displayed by the first responders that day. And it is an acknowledgement of the unwavering fortitude of the American people, and in particular New Yorkers, who illustrated that day and every day to come that their determination and tenacity was unshakable. On behalf of the New York City Fire Department, I thank you for your continuous support and remembrance. And a special thank you to all those from B&L who came to our aid that day and supported our operations. As a final note, I ask you to keep the brave men and women in our military in your prayers as they continue to serve our country and keep us safe. For that, thank you, and never forget. At this time, I'd like to invite Fire Rescue Chief Charles LaSalla and Police Chief Thomas Gilbert to read the inscription on the plaque before the unveiling. Invite everybody up.
This piece of World Trade Center steel serves as a remembrance of all who lost their lives in the tragedy of September 11, 2001, and the brave men and women who participated in the rescue effort. Dedicated on the 10th anniversary by Brookhaven National Laboratory, we will never forget.